well, sir.
What's going on, Mike?
Chilling, man. How's it going?
Things are fantastic. Congratulations on everything since the last time we spoke, which I think was probably like around this time last year. So yeah, it's been quite a busy 12 months for you.
Yeah. I guess you can say that. The funny thing is, a lot of this stuff was done then. I just couldn't talk about it. Yeah, the old Hollywood routine to hurry up and wait and do everything quickly when we say it, but when we tell you to wait, you just sit there and be quiet, kind of thing.
Right. So, in terms of coming up on the indie grind, and we're so used to the DIY lifestyle of getting things done, relying on yourself, then putting it out, and those last few seconds coming together. Has that been much of a transition for you, knowing that you're working now with these giant media conglomerates at different points?
Yeah, it definitely feels different on the release level, but it feels very different even on the creative level. Like, because of the DIY thing, I'm really used to just working alone and working in a really small team and being able to be really flexible and make decisions and execute mostly in-house. I'm really not used to the kind of large-scale collaboration that like corporate media kind of requires. So, I found myself having a lot of conversations that were kind of uncomfortable for me at first before I really kind of put that all in perspective.
Yeah. And so we're so used to the stress grind that a lot of the independent work is. Do you find that it's a different type of stress working in that environment, or do you find that it's almost like so easy to deal with that, that there's other hands involved in it?
I think a lot of it depends on what the communication level is between everybody involved. There were times when it felt like we were at war. Like, it felt like we were in a war room. I couldn't tell you who our enemy was, but it was that level of, all right, we're down in this bunker, and we're figuring out how to launch this assault. And then there was other times that, where it would be differences of opinion, and the people whose opinions mattered most, like creative execs and network execs, and then that was a whole different type of energy, But I think when I look at the final product, and I think that's really what it's all about, because I've heard a lot of like really television horror stories about people not being on the same page, and then you can tell in the product, But I think that we've made a show that we're really, really proud of, and everybody involved in it really feels like they can stand behind it. And the networks felt heard, the creators felt heard, and I think this was a really good experience overall.
Nice. So tell us a bit about the show.
It's a stand-up showcase for the most part. It is me and Baron Vaughn co-hosting and bringing out stand-ups, and then every episode has some original music in the form of a music video.
Nice. So it's like an original music video each episode?
Yep.
Sweet. So putting that together, and then you're also currently on tour with What Happens When I Try to Relax EP. Come to Turf Club this Friday. So is balancing promoting, and you promoted several things at once at different times. Like, I think it was 2016 when you put out, was it 4 projects within the same year?
It's 3, I think.
3.
It could have been 4, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so is it when you're doing the cross-medium sort of promotion like that, do you find that it works as like a 1-2 punch and they work like in conjunction with each other? Like, if you're going to like the music, you're going to love the stand-up show.
I think I'm still honestly figuring out the messaging that works great for everything. The outlets themselves aren't interconnected. So, I think when I put out a press release, I'm always going to try to stick my tour dates at the end. You know what I mean? And then it's up to the reporting sites whether or not they're going to include that information. And honestly, I think the reality is, too, the people who quit the headline based on a TV show, especially when they haven't seen yet, aren't necessarily checking for mature dates either. So it's the kind of thing where I kind of have to figure out the messaging where it's best. And it's kind of complicated, too, because I have another another TV show, a TV project that's premiering this week. And it's kind of got lost in the shuffle of a lot of the New Negroes announcements. But like I said, it's me trying to figure out. Like it's a great problem to have. You know what I mean? Having like too many things to promote. But you know, I think at this point in the social media landscape and the fact that like all of the people who I work with on these things aren't necessarily in sync and in tandem working on doing the messaging that's best for me. They're all doing the messaging that's best for their part. So it's kind of on me to kind of figure out the best way to get it out there.
Can we talk about the other television product? Because what one is that?
That is a show called Live from WZRD, and it's on a streaming app called Verve or VRV. And it premieres this Thursday, and it's set in the magical world, a la Harry Potter, but we are the community college in that world. And the show is our on-campus public access show in our Wizarding Community College, and I co-host that.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah. So you have both those, and then plus, you know, this week we're on the road to WrestleMania as it is. I'm actually going to be in New York, and I'm going to try to catch you at the Rough Trade show if my flight gets in on time.
Oh, nice.
So, and, you know, of course, talking about that, with your recent stepping into the Squared Circle endeavors, as a lifelong fan, what was it like celebrating a wrestling victory in ring with Mick Foley and Mr. Anderson?
Like legit wildest dream. Like there's no non-cliche way to say it, but it was really one of those. Like it was really like you know, I have a child, so I can't really like ever say that's the best moment of my life. But I want to say that. You know what I mean? Like it was like capital E epic. And you know, I'm retired now because I could never beat that moment. Never beat that moment.
So are you actually retired, or are you just saying you're retired so that next year when the WrestleCon Super Show goes down, they can pay to get you out of retirement to take on Madman Pondo?
It looks like I'll win either way by saying I'm retired if that's the case. If I'm actually retired, then I'm just telling the truth. And if somebody pays me to get out of retirement, then great.
Yeah, I was saying you'd be the only wrestler to stay totally retired ever since Shawn Michaels returned last fall. So.
Yep. Oh, that's right. I'm the only one. That's right.
True to your word.
Correct.
Yeah. Speaking of the emphasis on truth and words, one thing I read your Billboard interview, and you mentioned how on the most recent EP, there was the track that you felt the lyrics got too dark, and so you went back and sort of changed it a bit. And I was pretty interested to hear that because you know, normally you veer into dark territory, and you know, you do have like the moments to alleviate the pressure. But it's, you know, you have like, you know, gone into those spaces in your previous releases. And so I'm wondering, is this something that have you done that before on other records, or what was it about this particular one that you felt that it was getting a little bit too on the foreboding side?
I have done that in the past, but usually that's more along the lines of like, oh, this whole song is too dark, so let me just hold this song back, or you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. In this particular instance, I was writing a song from a place where like the premise was, I'm about to get super really real about a bunch of stuff. That once I wrote it, I realized that most of it boiled down to like the real story of the finances of me as an independent rapper. But there were a couple things that I'd put in there that weren't about that, but was just like about like real life or like real family stuff that didn't, like, once I was able to kind of take the long view on it, those things didn't seem like an effective part of what the overall picture was. They just seemed a little extra, and they seemed a little unnecessary. You know what I mean? Especially given that I wasn't going to unpack those things any further. I was like, okay, well, let me walk those back and try to write a couple more lines that are on this main idea of the finance thing.
Gotcha. So it's like you had the ideas, but you wanted to have, you know, a time in the space to really give it the justice. Say it. If you wanted to deconstruct it, then just do almost like grocery list of darkness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was just, I went into the egg aisle when I was really just, I was in the dairy section. That's what the main idea was the dairy section.
There you go. Getting those Whole Foods. So, that in mind, you've always had a willingness to get, sarcastic and with the different intonations and different levels of how your rhymes can be perceived on your records. But being, since the Brick Body Kids Still Daydream and this latest EP and with everything and your audience being bigger than ever, have you yet to encounter perhaps like a listener who maybe completely missed the point of something you said and took it at face value?
That actually happens a lot, and I get really nervous about that. Misinterpretation of lyrics is like a real thing, and as a writer, as a creator, you don't want to get in your head about that because you don't want anything to get in the way of like whatever picture you're actually trying to paint. And you can never honestly predict how people are going to internalize or interpret a lyric. So like you're kind of spinning your wheels even thinking about it, but it definitely happens, man. Like I've been on Genius and looked at the annotations that some people have left about my stuff, and I'm like horrified. Like, what? Like, no, like completely, absolutely not. And it's, on one hand, it's great that people are listening really closely and making interpretations, because to me, like, that's the even more annoying thing when somebody doesn't even want to try to make an interpretation because it's not clear. Like, that's super annoying, but it can be dangerous to leave things open to interpretation when people can take it and run wildly in the wrong direction. And yeah, it happens a lot, man.
Wow. Any in particular that stand out that, it may have not been that horrifying, but almost funny?
Well, there is I have a song with Hannibal Buress called Doug's Temper, and in it I say, I say, white rappers stop rapping when you're hood voice. And then I have a line about that. And then I say, don't shoot videos with your back to the cameraman, something like that. And to me, these are just disparate pieces of random advice that I'm giving out. Somebody, and I think I saw this on the internet a couple of times, was people had took those two lines and assumed I was talking about Lil Ugly Mane because apparently he's white and raps in some kind of hood voice, and he shot a video with his back to the camera. So there are people in the world who think I was dissing him, and I don't even know who he is. You know what I mean? Like that.
Wow.
That's the kind of level of misinterpretation you can step into, and that could create like a real situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, too. I think some people are maybe just kind of like wired to try to think that any line that sounds remotely antagonistic is automatically a diss about a very specific other artist.
Right.
Yeah, like I remember in the early days of being a hip-hop fan on the internet, like right around like 2000, 2001, and seeing someone trying to, in a message board, analyze lyrics that from a Kris Kross song they thought was a Beastie Boys diss. It's like
that's hilarious.
It was something where like one line's we're not whack like the suckers who pass the mic, and someone's like, well, Beastie Boys have a song called Pass the Mic. Oh man, Daddy Mac is really coming for MCA on this one.
I mean, and they were very likely not even writing their own lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also using the kids as the front line of defense to come at it. Yeah. Yeah.
What a weird war that would be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then of course, the youngsters would have then had to have come out and take on third base, and it would have been an entirely different rewritten secret wars of hip hop history. So
I do like the idea of there having been a phase in hip hop, like even if it's just imaginary, like a phase where all the beats were between child rappers and white rappers. That's hilarious.
That would be amazing. Yeah, there's still time for that to happen too. If Matty B Raps all of a sudden decides to take on Macklemore, then we could new boom period. So,
oh boy,
yeah.
It kind of sounds like a nightmare the more I think about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lucid dream more than anything. So, at any rate, thanks once again so much. I'm looking so forward to seeing you this Friday. You know, the last couple of times you've been in Minnesota, you've been in on Sundays. So, I've had to then double back and do my show. So this is the first time I get to take in the full open mic experience since moving to Minnesota. So, just congrats again on everything, man. And so this is gonna go.
Congrats to you too, man. I see you winning awards out there.
Thank you.